Who would live in a house like this? A charming hacienda in a quiet English village. A proper person living in a proper house. Like this very proper person, actress Anne Aubrey, who was the original owner.
That's how I remember it.
But who lives in a house like this? Oh, God, the smell. It's just fucking unbelievable.
It's a rubbish tip.
It's the same place, but it's now become a thoroughly improper house. I mean, look at the state of that. So there obviously must be an improper person living in it.
I can't believe he's done this.
If we go through there, you can get in the swimming pool then.
No.
God, that's terrible.
Oh, my God. Oh, look, you're full of shit.
Oh, look at the dog mess.
That is fucking outrageous. Oh, look, you're pissing yourself.
Poor little thing.
I'm really worried for the guy. I think it's a reflection of the inside of his head. Oh, fuck me. The inside of his head must be genuinely fucked.
Oh, my God.
I mean, really fucked. So there you have it. This is the house of Michael Carroll, lottery winner and self-styled King of Chavs. Michael Carroll came from a broken home in Norfolk. Some say he broke most of it. He seemed destined for a life of manual labor and occasional brushes with the law until one day, suddenly, age 19, he became one of the richest people in the country.
We reckon there could be just the one lucky Lotto jackpot winner tonight, around £9.6 million better off.
According to the Sunday Times Rich List, he was sandwiched between Kate Winslet and Charlotte Church, which is a delightful place to be if you like that sort of thing. He was all set to marry his girlfriend, and their baby daughter seemed guaranteed a glittering future. But Mikey is an unusual millionaire. For a start, no one else on the rich list ever treated the press in the way that Mikey does.
This time, spitting beer.
Any comment then, Michael? Yeah, go yourself. Thank you very much.
But then again, the press never treats those other millionaires the way it's treated Mikey for the past 3 years.
Have you spent all your money? You get on your money?
Yeah, Norbet's just arrived.
Everything I'd heard about him was bad news.
He served 4 months in prison shortly before he won the lottery and was wearing an electronic tag the day he picked up his winnings.
Carroll is a convicted criminal and a multi-millionaire.
Magistrates to face charges in connection with allegedly
Carroll,
stolen
who's a
power
former
tools.
dustman, has a long list of previous convictions, including theft, driving offences...
Carroll has alienated his neighbours by keeping wrecked vehicles in the field behind the house and racing old cars there, sometimes at night.
Neighbours say there's no justice. Someone like him shouldn't be allowed to win so much money.
Novel burning material, a fridge, tyres and a 50-foot mobile home.
Frustrated, annoyed, banging our head on a brick wall.
Yesterday, Norfolk police carried out a raid on Mr. Carroll's premises. They discovered what were alleged to be stolen goods and also a quantity of a controlled drug.
And more than £1,500 worth of cocaine.
Treatment
Carroll
and
also...
testing order for 2 months.
Today, the magistrates decided to give him one more chance.
I don't think it's fair. I don't think the justice system is right at all.
What's country coming to? What's law coming
It's
to?
reported a member of the public saw him in a garden with what appeared to be a gun.
Virtually no effort to comply with the community service order, and they were thinking of sending him to prison.
Last night, he was led from Swaffham magistrates in handcuffs and escorted to prison in a Group 4 van.
Good job, if you ask me. Best place for him.
Should have gone before, a long while ago.
But then one day I heard he was planning to raise money for charity by taking part in a boxing match. Mikey Carroll was doing a good deed. Was there perhaps more to him than the brainless lout the media made him out to be? Well, I just had to find out.
Welcome to the Repton.
Here's Mikey promoting his charity boxing match, which is due to take place in 2 weeks' time.
After Mikey Carroll, he's branded the lottery lout against Rhino from Gladiators.
I respect him for getting in there,
It goes to charity, so it's a good cause, but he's got no chance of winning this now.
You've got to be, you've got to be off your head. I think you should stay on the farm and smash the cars up, mate.
Fuck you, man. Oh dear, it seems he's decided to do the show right here, right now. And if you think this is violent, then let me tell you, compared to what happens later on when he got warmed up, this is just handbags at dawn. Meet Mikey Carroll after this commercial break. Ah, Blackpool. Probably the cultural capital of Chavland. A town where even the OAPs have love bites on their necks. The local cuisine consists of fat and lard and sugar and burgers, and the local uniform is bling. It seemed the perfect place for me to meet the King of Chavs to make him feel at home, so we invited him up to stay, and he agreed. Because Blackpool is also the self-proclaimed home of the stars, where people can rub shoulders with the giants of comedy, with all the big names in showbiz. As I found out from my old friend Jeffrey, the former concierge of the town's #1 hotel, the Metropole. Who's the most famous person you saw going through there?
Cannonball, Dana,
Freddie Starr.
Freddie Starr, Frank Carson, Jimmy Cricket.
Chubby Brown.
I didn't meet Chubby. Yeah, I think I did meet Chubby Brown.
What's he like? I'm sure you'd remember if you had.
Yeah, I didn't see him that often,
Right.
Yeah.
Mikey's clan was booked into the Billy Butlin suite.
We've got restaurants catered for every nation now.
Where top-class food means a slice of polystyrene topped with a frisbee of fat and gristle, covered with the great taste of yellow. The perfect training diet as he prepared for his forthcoming fight with Rhino. I wanted to take the King of Chavs to survey his kingdom, but either the palaces of Chavdom were too much for Mikey, or he was too much for them. He took one look at the Metropole, they took one look at his clan, and suddenly Mikey was staying at another hotel. And elsewhere in the town, Mikey's concentration of Chavness was detected before he set foot in the door. There was no room at the inn for the King of Chavs at the Blackpool Tower Ballroom, or the Pier, or the Tower, or the Coral Island Amusements, or the Sea Life Centre, or Mecca Bingo, or Mr. T's Amusements, or Happy Days Amusements. He was banned from the Pleasure Beach, banned from Two Swords Waxworks. Yet this man should surely have been greeted here as the Blackpool Messiah, in the sort of places where, rather than throwing people out, they should by rights be throwing them in. So here I am, chavved up to the nines, wearing the chav crown the right way round. Well, I think. Is it? Maybe this way. Oh. Anyway, it's all in a bid to ingratiate myself with Mikey and his mates. Fortunately, nobody could ban us from the beach, so it was there that we had our first encounter. This is Jelly Baby, this is Ginger Nigel, and this is his newest friend, his self-styled agent and boxing promoter George Bambi, the man who's persuaded Mikey to step into the boxing ring. How are you? Pleased to meet you. You all right? Good to meet you. You all right? Yes. Spot on, lad. How you feeling?
All right.
Easy, isn't it? All right, guys, who are all these lads? Nigel, pleased to meet you. How'd you get on with Swaffham?
All right.
Is it all right?
Apart from neighbours.
What, they're giving you jip?
Yeah. Since started playing with cars.
Are they all new cars?
Nah.
They're not, are they? It's
25-pounders.
I mean, I read that story that says the Jags are 25 grand, they're brand new. That's not true, is it?
Nah. 50 quid, 25 quid.
Right, should we find a pub? Finally, we found room at just one inn, or at least a doorman who hadn't read the tabloids.
Not gonna happen,
Yates's Wine Bar. It's strange, nobody seemed to be drinking any wine. Despite my attempt to chav right up, Mikey saw through my thin ploy. Well, I am twice his age, and I suppose he saw me as an authority figure. Well, me, it's incredible, just incredible. But he was obviously inhibited, maybe even fearful of me. Do you read all the papers about yourself? Yeah. They've set up a hotline that anyone who's got a moan about you can immediately get into the council. How do you feel about it?
Nothing to me.
Right. Do you find that... Cheers. Do you find that people resent you, right? Not for doing what you do, but for doing what you do with £10 million in the bank?
Jealousy.
Yeah. What's the most annoying thing that's happened to you about all that? I mean, what makes you really angry about it?
Trying to get a picture of my daughter.
They try and what?
And they try to get a picture of my daughter.
Really? It's about family? And what do they do? Clearly, he was cautious about letting another bear-baiting film crew get too close to him, so I gave up trying to interview him and took him on a guided tour of Blackpool instead. You can always tell when a town died by its shop signs. And Blackpool died in 1971, when holidaymakers first realised it was cheaper to spend a fortnight in sun-kissed Mallorca than stay here in rain-pissed Lancashire. Even though he wasn't saying much, it was starting to dawn on me that Mikey was not the thug I thought he was. In fact, a little later on, I turned out to be the thug I thought I wasn't. You see, the PR people at the Pleasure Beach had got wind that we might be going there, so they must have alerted their security guards, the Purple Salvation Army Police, to keep us off the premises.
Switch that camera off now.
And, well...
Hey, don't touch him. He's coming off. Don't touch anybody. Hey, get off it, you.
This was the moment when I began to revise my opinions of Mikey.
Stand on the pavement here. What do you think you're doing, you?
According to his media reputation, you'd be expecting him to lead the fight, but actually he tried to keep out of it.
You buffoon. It's buffoon.
And even to dampen it down.
Get on there.
Oh, well, if I had 10 million quid, perhaps I should learn to show a bit of restraint, too.
You idiot. There's something wrong with you. Please condemn all that.
Why was he so restrained?
That'll be all round Blackpool now.
Maybe he was just behaving well for our cameras.
Mikey Carroll's been out-yobbed by me. Right, Mikey, buy the funfair, fuck him.
Or maybe he was saving his strength for the match.
2 hours, well, he's fighting, my boy. And then a gay club tonight called Cheekies. Cheekies?
Or maybe he took my joke about the gay club seriously. Or maybe I'd come here looking for the wrong person. Everything I'd heard about him from the telly and the tabloids was Chavs-like. The fighting, the drugs, the mother he doesn't talk to, the girlfriend he married but is now estranged, along with a 2-year-old daughter. But just because the media caricature him that way doesn't mean that it's true. And perhaps he's not the chav I thought he was. Or maybe he just had enough of Blackpool.
Put your shithole.
At this point, I got sidetracked by a fortune teller. I've always believed that people who believe in a sixth sense are lacking the other 5. However, who can resist the chance to have their palm read? Before we started, Gypsy Petulengro told me she was expecting a phone call from the hospital about her seriously ill uncle, to tell her if he was alive or dead, which is rather odd. I mean, being a fortune teller, you'd think she'd know already. There you go.
Right, now have you recently had an offer, some kind of proposition to better yourself?
Well, only an offer to work for Channel 4, but that's hardly bettering myself.
There is a lady in the crystal.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
Right, now is the lady you're fond of at the moment?
Yeah.
Does she have a J, P or an L anywhere at all in her name?
Well, her name is Japilango.
Right, it's a J, P.
Yeah.
Oh, and an L.
Yeah.
But what is your biggest worry at the moment?
I'm working with this, well, I don't know how you describe him, really. He's a young man, very rich.
Right, there's going to be a few obstacles that you'll have to overcome. This man is going to boss you a bit.
Okay.
And you're going to feel like walking away.
At this point, my reading was unexpectedly terminated.
Excuse me.
All right, okay, well.
Hello. I'm busy, Leo. I'll ring you back. Bye. Not very nice when you're waiting for somebody to die, is it?
By the time I got out, Mikey was missing. I assumed he's had enough of Blackpool, but it turned out he'd returned to Norfolk in a hurry because his swimming pool had been smashed up and one of his dogs had been shot. He'd been having trouble with gangsters claiming to be from the IRA and demanding money, and he thought they might be troubling him again. Threats, extortion, pets being killed, that sort of thing never happened to Mikey before he won the lottery, but now it's just part of his life. That's what happens when you suddenly win 10 million quid and the world knows about it. I've lost my key. Half the lowlife in Britain turn up at your door demanding money, and the other half, well, we've mentioned them already, and they're the ones with the camera and the microphones. I stayed around in town for a while longer, taking in some entertainment.
Freddie Starr, Frank Carson, Jimmy Cricket.
Meanwhile, back south, Mikey had already started training. He sounded enthusiastic about the forthcoming bout with Rhino.
I'm not going to die in light with flames, simple as. pump on the night, I'm going to kill him, some lads. Like 4 of him.
We'd arranged to meet the next day in this East London boxing gym, but by the time I'd got there, he'd bolted again.
Well, we'll answer the phone if you ring him. Can you phone him and tell him to ring me urgently?
I was told he was doing his training in Norwich that day, weightlifting, bottles of Stella, and doing some horizontal jogging with his current girlfriend, Sammy. This was turning into another Nick Broomfield situation, but then, later on, I was told something very confidentially, quietly, privately.
Yeah, his bird's been arrested for drugs or something, and he's had to go back and sort it out.
But by now, we were all beginning to wonder why Mr. Bambi's politely assertive phone calls weren't getting through to Mikey's brain.
Mikey, it's George. I'm at the boxing club in Repton. Channel 4, the Sunday people, nuts. There's about 18 people. You fucking made me look like a right again, and I'm fucking pissed off with it.
Could it have been that George knew that on a day when Mikey was distracted by sex and drugs and beer, getting through to any part of him was a lost cause?
If you don't phone me back in 10 minutes, the fucking fight's off, and I'm going to make you look the biggest which won't be fucking hard in all the papers.
And as far as we were able to find out, Sammy certainly hadn't been arrested, or at least not by any police force in Norfolk.
Is that right?
Determined not to waste any more time, I drove up to Norfolk to try to talk to Mikey on his home ground. I'd briefly dropped in at his Swaffham house once before, and I wasn't keen on coming back, not just because of the filth and squalor I'd seen there, but because of the poor dog. That's disgusting. Look, his tail's between his legs, bless him. We'd been so concerned about it last time that we'd reported its state to the RSPCA.
It just pisses itself, it's awful.
But mostly I was looking out of the window at Norfolk, where the only industry is peas, potatoes, peas, turnips, peas, peas, and more fucking peas. Actually, there is one other growth industry around here. I've been told that this is the country's most popular area for dogging.
And it is not walking dogs with leads.
No, exactly. Well, in some cases it might be walking something with leads, but I don't know about dogs. Yeah. Do you mind if at some point when we've done the interview, if in the edit, we just kind of dub up your voice a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, is that okay? So, I mean, is there any news, you know, in the kind of estate agents' journals that this is the centre of it and
No.
prices are reacting?
No.
I guess that you've been on the receiving end of the reaction to Mr. Carroll living in that house.
Oh, yes, yes. Every single day I go past her, there seems to be yet another vehicle or another caravan or something beaten up or broken up in the grounds.
Right.
It's getting to the stage now where you can hardly see the house.
Thanks very much indeed.
Okay, cheers.
Cheers. Cheers, guys. The dogging sector of the world. Sorry about the overdub. The audio boys get a bit bored. Anyway, as I was saying, Norfolk is life switched off at the mains. Flat, monotonous. It's Holland without the drugs. Or rather, if you're in Mikey's house, it's Holland. When I got there, the house was inhabited.
How you doing?
I'm Keith. But what I found was nothing like the horror stories I'd seen on TV programs about Mikey. No, this was the darling buds of May on crack. How many dogs you got there? 10.
Lady, Stella, Jameson, Jake, Tyson, Storm, Dosh, Chav.
No Pop Larkin, though, just the spitting image of Biffa Bacon's mother. And either the RSPCA had been, or someone here had taken intravenous elbow grease.
You all right?
That poor dog, who looked so cruelly treated when we went there before,
What kind of dog
was living in a newly cleaned out run, as happy as Larry or maybe Lassie when he came out to play with the family.
He was ill-treated when Mikey bolted.
Oh, was he?
That's why Mikey bolted, because he'd been ill-treated.
Oh, really?
Mikey's here.
Mikey's here, you're in trouble.
Then Mikey arrived, did what he always does when the TV cameras are around. He went racing. And what about the fearful noise that these people are supposed to make? Well, the racetrack in the field was not what I'd been led to believe from the TV reports I'd seen either. I noticed that some of these cars in the yard were the same cars that had been filmed 2 years ago, engaged in a demolition derby. But I repeat, that was 2 years ago. Now, many didn't even have wheels and were clearly seldom used. So stories of cars being raced and smashed up in his field day after day were another exaggeration by the media. Don't get me wrong. There is plenty of car noise around here. In fact, it's almost noisier than Silverstone Racecourse. But Mikey or his mates cause only a little part of it. Almost all of the constant noise comes from the A47, A dual carriageway with very fast cars and heavy transport thundering past 24 hours a day. The traffic noise is so loud, it almost drowns out the sounds of the fighter jets overhead, returning to base just a few miles down the road, and me trying to narrate this fucking program. So why do journalists never tell their viewers or readers the truth? And why do they always describe this extremely noisy location as a peaceful village or a sleepy hamlet when it's nothing of the sort?
It used to be a peaceful corner of West Norfolk, but then came Michael Carroll.
Because the fiction is so much better than the reality. That's why. Michael Carroll single-handedly keeps East Anglian local news in business.
£50,000 on a new BMW car from this garage in Kings Lynn.
There's no suggestion that Carroll has done anything illegal by holding a bonfire party. It was November the 5th after all. But for his
so local stringers crank up the stories and sell them on to the national tabloids.
It is continuing antisocial behaviour.
And on television, anchormen and women play judge and jury as they present a one-sided version of the Michael Carroll story, forgetting the concept of professional impartiality as they do so.
Thanks for very much putting your case.
It's an absolute nightmare. We all know the situation. We'll all make our own judgments upon it, and it's good that you come across and
interesting role models we have.
8:23 is the time. Let's move on to something rather nicer.
Listen to them. If Mikey and his friends were aristos living in squalor, nobody would mind. Nobody. Because aristos, they have natural breeding. Whereas everyone knows that chavs only have an unnatural inbreeding and are therefore fair game for derision from middle-class televisual topiarists and twats. Why do they do it? Because they are exactly the sort of people who live in neat and tidy streets just like this, just like their right-minded viewers, which is rather unfortunate for them because even though none of those journalists seem to know it, this is where Michael Carroll actually lives with his girlfriend in a quiet and respectable manner. And on that bombshell, let's pause for a commercial break. So there you have it. Although the media are obsessed with Mikey's Swaffham house, he doesn't actually even live there, and hasn't done so for more than a year. That's just where he turns up when the press and TV want to write another story about him, and it amuses him to play along with the media image. The house is his theatre, where he plays the part of Michael Carroll, lottery lout, and happily puts on a noisy demolition derby for the TV crews, who then interview the neighbours about how awful the noise is, but it's the very same noise that they've just been encouraging him to make. While I was waiting for Mikey, one of the curtain-twitching neighbours finally plucked up courage to ask what I was doing. Well, there's one surefire way to upset the Daily Mail sensibilities of people like that.
Can I help you talk to you?
Oh, don't worry. We're just discussing something. We're not criminals.
Have the camera through, that was all. I'm just wondering if you were sort of just filming something later.
No, it's all right, honestly. But that's all right. I mean, if we're worrying, we'll move on in a second anyway.
Well, it's at all, no, I'm just intrigued, you know.
Well, we know there's a paedophile living on this estate, so...
Where's that from?
Well, it's a pedo hotline that we've been studying. It's a black guy. Do you know any black guys around here?
There's a black woman there.
Black woman? Oh, it could have been a woman. Well, he's Welsh as well, wasn't he?
Oh, when you shouldn't hear about things up there, you know.
Thank you, we'll be back. Cheers. Right, let's go. Let's got to get.
Pinning Mikey down for an interview was still proving hard, but then he does have something of a reputation for doing no shows.
Richard's talking about here in the studio this morning, but we're told that he is unwell. He's travelled down from Norfolk to London. He's been put up in a hotel by GMTV, as we do with guests out of town, but he's overnight developed some form of sickness.
Well, I can see his point. Who would want to turn up for a shitty third-rate piece of morning television with John Stapleton? Not me. It's amazing that you even bothered, John. In fact, why would anyone feel obliged to turn up anywhere when they've got 10 million quid in the bank? We'd missed Mikey again. But before I left Norfolk, the producer insisted that I visit the shop where Mikey bought his winning ticket. Cliché upon cliché. This, by the way, is a simulation of what happened on that fateful day. He was drunk. He bought 2 tickets. This was the first time he'd ever played the lottery. He bought 2 lucky dips. So here I am, at the very shop where Mikey chose his numbers and paid for the ticket that would change his life. Some locals think it's the Lucky Lotto shop. And what's even more ridiculous is that even though I know that's nonsense, me and the crew have all just bought our lucky lottery tickets here. Mr. Patel, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Do you remember the day that Mikey came in? What's even more ridiculous is that we're filming the owners of the shop, even though they weren't even here 3 years ago when Mikey bought his ticket. Why weren't you?
No, because that was before we were actually here.
Ah, you weren't here. I suppose I shouldn't mention this, because it makes us look as idiotic as the people we were attacking before the commercial break, but you know, it's entertaining. Actually, it's dawned on me that there's an alarmingly high percentage of stupid people working in TV. Hard to believe looking at the programmes, I know, but it's true. But do they really think that only certain people deserve to win the lottery? People entirely unlike Michael Carroll. Well, they're right. But in fact, nobody deserves to win the lottery. Winning is just a fluke. It's random, or what we technically call a lottery. Anyway, why am I pointing the finger and calling other people stupid? I've still not got a proper interview with the star of this documentary, and already, well, we're halfway through. Fortunately, Mikey began to loosen up as the fight grew nearer. All great boxers have their entrance music, and he asked me to help him record some. So a few days before the fight, me, him, and some of his friends got together in a studio to record this hastily composed rap.
I've got the money that I've got, you mean gone now. That's fucking now. Got to spend a lot.
Right, I'll have back, right, a grand. You're not a rep from boxing club by 11 tomorrow.
So, I'll put 10 grand if you want. Oh, bitches, cars, dogs, drugs, lager. The only nervous part I am about that night is getting in the ring. Walk in the ring and all the people looking at me. That's the about women in the ring. Alright.
Privately, as we finished making Mikey's entrance music, he asked if he could record something else, something very different. He asked if he could record a love song for his daughter, whom he hardly ever sees. Could I keep him in one place long enough for this to happen? It was the afternoon of the big fight. Mikey was supposed to have stayed at the Great Eastern Hotel in London, but they made it clear he would not be welcome. Not because of anything he'd done, but because of the Michael Carroll they'd read about in the tabloids, obviously. So instead, he booked into this London hotel where, according to the press, he was later thrown out for swinging on the chandelier. That press story was also untrue. Only Errol Flynn ever really swung from chandeliers, and in a ramshackle place like this, if you pull the lavatory paper too hard, the holder falls off, so swashbuckling exploits were right out of the question. But I digress. What also happened was that Mikey did begin to loosen up. He didn't give me the big interview until after the fight, but here in his room, he finally started to trust me enough to open up. Your girlfriend?
Samantha.
Samantha, I'm sorry. Her mum and her children live in that big house. Is that right? But you don't. Why not?
Had a lot of shit there.
It's what?
Had a lot of shit there.
What, because it's kind of a famous place now? But is she happy living there?
She had no shit there.
She what?
She had no shit there.
She's had no shit?
No.
I mean, your face isn't marked up. You don't look like a bruiser. You know what I mean?
Fucking duck and dive.
No, but it says, like, in all the papers, it's always going on about you being a yob and a chav and all the rest of it. Which, I mean, implies that you would be involved in a lot of fights, but that looks pretty clean to me.
So what?
Do you not get caught?
Well, I've only got the cracks.
Have you? Do you like fighting?
It buzzed me.
It what?
Buzzed me.
It buzzes you? Really? What, fighting? Do you ever start fights?
No.
You're not?
They come to me.
Do you get many gangsters? It's all right, I mean, everyone knows they're at it. Huh?
Kind of.
Yeah, I bet you do. I mean, it's common knowledge that you've had threats from the IRA, haven't you? About your daughter. And you were saying that when we were in Blackpool, you got a bit paranoid because there was a phone call from some Liverpool firm. Is that right? Do you get that all the time?
Yeah, but it didn't happen for about a month. Then I went to Blackpool and it just happened.
Was it?
Straight in Scouts territory, innit?
Yeah. Do you ever go back to the house? I mean, you don't want to be there, do you?
No.
That's why you moved away.
You know, I got on the field, I spare it.
The day of the fight against a celebrity whose claim to fame rests almost entirely on a scandal-tinged TV show that was pulled off the air 5 years ago. To be fair, both men weighed in at about the same weight, but to be fairer, Rhino, or Mark Smith, with his clothes on,
was perfectly toned, with pure muscle on his muscles.
You got a fight plan?
Nice one, yeah. What is it? Knock him out in a second. Whereas Mikey was pure flab upon flab, having trained for weeks on a diet of beer and pies and peas. Rhino had a crack team to support him.
That's Rhino's entourage. Just go and check on me.
And this is Mikey's crack team. And someone should have put "sponsored by Stella" on the door.
As the start of the fight got closer, I was getting nervous about what might happen to him in the ring. But Mikey's only concern was whether, because of his tabloid reputation, the crowd might boo him when he walked on.
Like a bad top guy. Everyone will go, fucking 9.5 million, not even for the fucking top.
Mikey. Sam, how you doing?
Hello.
So listen, what do you think's going to happen tonight then?
But we're going to be up. They've got all ambulance men out there, haven't they?
They've got all heart.
They'll be alright anyway.
Do you reckon?
They'll be alright.
Really? What, you reckon he's tough enough?
Yeah. Well, that's all. At the end of the day, he's got the guys to get up and do it, isn't he? At the end of the day, it's for charity. And no, I don't think no one else can get up and fight.
He's got a show in the country, he's not the toss they all think he is.
Isn't it?
Yeah. And has he changed?
No, he's still the same person.
Is he?
Still the same person as yours, isn't he?
Apart from being the binman no more.
Yeah, isn't it? He liked me though. He loved it, he did.
What, being a bin man?
Yeah, he did. He did, he loved it.
I bet he did.
He's sitting there in the van all day with a pan Stella.
Anyway, I'll see you all later on, yeah?
See you later.
All right, take care.
Mikey's fucked up his entrance, but at least there were some cheers amongst the jeers when he came on, and he'd been far more worried about that than about being floored by Rhino. He's clearly got very low self-esteem. Maybe he's started to believe everything the tabloids write about him. But now, he's in the ring, he's about to fight for his charity, and the crowd are wanting blood. So now for the fight commentary, I'll hand over to me.
Thank you, me. Unusually, for a documentary, I've decided to do the fight commentary myself. And I've invited my friend Chris Eubank to help me analyse the action. So it's fantastic atmosphere here, Chris. Really wonderful.
Yes, hello. He looks very calm and...
Oh, I don't know what I say. That was a good punch. I think that came from Rhino.
Yes, Rhino's moving very well. His feet are moving
jabbing.
Extremely well.
He's sticking him. He's sticking him. Ah, Mikey holding the centre of the ring again. Go for the body shots and a right to the head. Wow, I tell you what, yes, he's having a go. He's having a go.
He's hitting him again. He's hitting him hard to the body and the chest.
Right.
And yes, look, Rhino now really going in.
Yes, I can see that. You actually know fuck all about boxing.
Absolutely.
You know nothing at all.
Oh, that's the miles away.
I'm
just watching the fight.
Nothing about boxing whatsoever.
Yes, but I do a good Mike Tyson and indeed Frank Bruno.
Oh, do you Tyson? Because Eubank is fucking dreadful.
Mike Tyson is sort of less than so, you know, he's...
That's not Mike Tyson.
That is Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson sounds like that. He sounds like...
I tell you, I'm going to box.
Yeah, I know, but I can do it later. I can do it later.
Come on, do Bruno. I like Bruno. Have a go at Bruno on that.
Yeah, I like... Sorry. You want to do sort of Frank, yeah?
Yeah, man. What's happening here, Frank?
Okay, I don't know what's happening here. It's not really cricket, you know? It's not really... So...
While this voiceover is happening, I'll come in over my own voiceover to say that what we don't know as we're commentating is that a second boxing match is about to break out in the audience, all right, in row C. Here, Sammy has a fight with someone behind her and starts spitting. A couple of guys are shouting about Mikey. City boys, more than likely. She does pick a wallop. Maybe it should be her in the ring with Rhino instead of Mikey. Some mid-fight advice there from the very knowledgeable George. You can see he's He's in communication there with the people in the crowd. Back to the business of boxing. Oh, Mikey's looking very strong here, very, very strong. And I think Rhino's given up. He's got his hands in the air, he's surrendering, he's being hurt. He looks like he's no, he hasn't given up. He's actually taking the piss. A final volley from Rhino and Carroll has no reply. He's teetering on the edge. Is it curtains for Mikey? Find out in part 4. And we welcome back Channel 4 viewers to the Mikey Carroll versus Rhino charity boxing match. And you have joined us just in time for the final bell.
I think Rhino is playing with him.
The judges have plunged the hall into surrealism. The result is a draw. But then, to thieve another label from art, the fight was only an exhibition. Rather like it. There he is. Well done, son. Oh, you're all right. What's about yourself? All right. How'd you feel? Good. Huh? What? You got a shower? No. How'd you feel in there? Fucked. Really? Would you do it again? Yeah. Would you train this time? Yeah, I would. A lesson has been learned. Yeah, I'll tell you, you got a job now for the next 6 months. Brilliant. And what happened when it all kicked off?
I don't know, my boy punched Mission in the face.
Ah, they've got it wrong again. Nobody actually seemed to punch Sammy.
As soon as you packed the fucking ring to go, and I'm like, stay here, the security will sort it out. The security did a great job.
Well, how did you feel? You know when you got him in the corner, and he just lifted his arms up, and you were pounding his body, and he wasn't moving?
Wasn't doing no damage, was I?
I know. How did you feel then?
I wasn't hitting the nuts, but...
But that must be really kind of disheartening, though.
No, I got in there.
Yeah, but no. I mean, just like punching you, not hurting the fella. It must be like,
I didn't remember hurting. He's a big
Well, he's not. He's solid, isn't he?
That's what I mean.
And that's training.
After the match, I almost felt that Mikey wanted to be knocked out and hurt, as though that might cancel out the social stigma of all his bad behaviour over the past few years, much of which is invented by the press, but some of which is genuine. I pursued that idea with a journalist who started out as a boxer himself and has taken a special interest in Mikey. He's one of the few people I've come across who has covered Mikey's career fairly.
His story is interesting, I find quite interesting, because most people do not have an accurate understanding about Michael. You know, large sections of the press have gone against him without knowing much about him.
So what's your opinion of Mikey then?
He's quite misguided about life, but
in what way?
Well, in the way that he's not dealing with the public and the public's views about him in the right way, but to a degree I think that's inevitable. The more you paint him to be bad, the more people say bad things about him, the less likely, he is to break away from that and integrate with mainstream society, because he's ostracized from society, as a result of the stories that are circulating about him.
Do you get annoyed with the way the press treat him?
I do get disappointed sometimes, because I think everyone has a moral duty to be fair, to be objective in what they do, and not to go out the way to destroy someone, to understand that, he's only 22 and he's got many years to live. And if he feels removed from society for the rest of his life, he could just go on a self-destructive button. Deep down, he's not a bad guy.
But how deep down? Could I get down deep enough to persuade him to leave his friends behind for an afternoon and let me give him a music lesson, and to teach him, as he'd asked me a few days ago, to sing for his estranged daughter? Well, with this in mind, and with the pressures of the boxing match behind him, I finally managed to get Mikey to open up and express himself in more than just grunts and monosyllables as he reflected on his night in the ring.
I was buzzing.
Was you?
Adrenaline rush, nervous, scared, and proud that I didn't go down. The only part I was scared of was the people around there.
What, you mean?
The audience, you know, nervous.
Right.
I was scared of him. I was scared of him a bit, don't get me wrong. He's hard.
Yeah, yeah.
He's got a hard punch, but not as hard as I thought he was going to be.
Right.
Do you know what reason why I chose Rhino?
Go on.
Because he was the biggest person I knew. Well, not I knew.
Right.
Because Rhino, I thought, I remember that name, I thought, if I do get knocked out or back the fuck, no one's going to doubt me and say, oh, you pussy for getting in the ring with him.
Like most people, I probably wouldn't have been interested in Michael Carroll at all if he hadn't won 10 million quid on the lottery. When I first went to Mikey's empty house and when I first met him, I had the same thought. The lights are on, but no one's home. When I got to know him, I realised that through the thick haze of beer and, I don't know, thickness, I could see that there lurks one of the finest and most perceptive minds of our generation. Well, all right, come on, I'm taking the piss. But there is a lot more to him than the media give him credit for.
On the streets till I was 17.
On the streets? What, living rough?
Yeah. I slept in doorways, in the back of transits, in cars. No one sees that part of me, do they?
No, no, of course.
Well.
Of course. That's fucking heavy, that, Mikey, you know. I mean, that...
Everyone thinks, like, oh, I went to prison for a car thief dinner.
Yeah.
Right? I did that to feed myself. You know what I mean? And for the buzz, but...
Mikey's real problem, it isn't the money. It's the Faustian pact he struck with the press and TV. He likes the fame they give him. They like the easy stories he gives them in return, so he pretends to be far worse than he actually is.
I never took any drugs before I won. I took drugs out I won. I lost my little girl. That's when I started drugs. They all think I'm a raging cocaine fucking addict.
I believe what the public are usually shown isn't the real Michael Carroll at all. It's a caricature that makes him out to be a total villain. And he's really just a confused and confusing young man. It's the lottery, you see? Because people feel proprietorial about it. Something very nasty in the British psyche seems to come out when someone the public doesn't approve of wins, and wins big.
I've got this theory, Mikey, right, that, and this is my theory, right, about you. I think that deep down you want to get rid of all your money.
I do?
Yeah, just get rid of it.
Well, I do and I don't, do me wrong. I do because of the shit it brings, and I don't because I want it for my daughter.
Of course.
But I want more for her. Do you know what I mean?
You want to sing a song to your daughter?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So what do you want to say to your daughter? What do you want to say to her?
I don't know. Like, I love her, when time's right, we'll be together soon. All right, something like that.
Hang on. What do you mean when the time's right?
When she's old enough, she'll come looking.
You love her, don't you?
Yes, I do. I'd give every penny I've got and everything I've got just to have her for a week. I'd do 20 years in prison for her.
Stop it, you silly idiot.
I would, I'm telling you now.
No, you wouldn't.
Got back.
You do 5 years, get on with it.
Mate, I would. That's how much she means to me.
Okay, cool. Right, come on, let's jog on. Nice one, lads.
Well, it was time for that music lesson. I shaped some of the things he'd just said into a few simple, heartfelt lyrics, and we went off to the garden shed to record it.
Just don't worry about singing, Mikey, all right? It's like you're on it. You're getting the phrasing, get the emotion right, and you're cool, all right? Let's wait for the next time round. Get a bit confident now. Just give it some air, right? A little bit of... Come on. Just keep going over it. Right, now close your eyes and think of your daughter, okay? There, come on. Right, give it a bit more, give it a bit of voice now. Hey? Just give it a bit of voice.
When the time is right, we will be together.
Go on then, laugh. OK, Mikey is no great singer. But for acts of sheer bravery, standing in a studio surrounded by a film crew, recording engineers and musicians, having never performed solo before, and trying to express the most important thing in your life, well, it takes some beating. Before I left Norfolk, I finally took up Mikey's challenge of a race around his field. Well, it's what every other TV film crew expects him to do, and why should we be different?
The steering keeps locking. Doubtless he'll continue his Faustian pact with the media because it makes a story that suits both sides. But perhaps one day he'll realise that he would be a whole lot happier if he kept out of the public eye, because he doesn't need to play up to every journalist in search of an easy story, not even to me.
Fuck me, I can't see anything.
And I hope he realises it soon, because at the moment he seems to have all the problems that come with an expensive lifestyle, but little of the freedom that money can bring. Mikey's rich, but maybe one day he'll become smart and rich. And the point about smart and rich people is that they just get on with quietly and anonymously enjoying their money. And they're so rich that nobody even knows who they are.
Time is right, we will be together. Love you, miss you, wish I could be with you every day.
Oh, shit. The rollers seem to have jammed. But luckily that will give me just enough time to tell you what Mikey's been up to since we completed this programme. We couldn't show it last summer, as intended, because he'd got himself into a bit of legal trouble. But Mikey had convinced me during the making of this documentary that he was a victim of society. And when you hear what's happened over the past 9 months, I'm sure you will agree he is a victim of society. In July, he spent a night in a police cell after allegations that he breached his ASBO. In August, another ASBO was issued, banning him from racing cars. And a warrant for his arrest was issued after he failed to attend court on a cannabis charge. In September, King's Lynn Magistrates Court ordered him to pay £6,324.67 in fines for possessing cannabis and for a drunken shooting spree with a ball-bearing gun. He was sent to Crown Court for breaching an ASBO. He admitted breaching a community order. He bought a bungalow near Clenchwarton, and smashed-up vehicles soon began appearing there, and he lost a legal battle to have another ASBO dropped. That's just September. In October, his girlfriend Sammy claimed to be pregnant with Mikey's baby and revealed that he'd been sleeping with her as well as with his new girlfriend. In November, he had a quiet month, but in December, he was arrested after allegedly attacking Sammy in Downham Market. In January, he pledged to remain celibate while his new girlfriend Jodie was sent to prison following an assault charge. And he caused uproar when he was granted legal aid after being accused of a fray for walking into a Christian rock concert with a baseball bat. He eventually decided not to accept the legal aid money. In February, he announced that he was down to his last million, and he was finally sentenced to 9 months imprisonment after pleading guilty to an afraid charge that left 2 people needing hospital treatment. When asked what he felt about being sent to prison, Mikey said, "It's all right, all my mates are there."
Do you think prison will change you?
No, his body changed, so... You're going to change me now, is it?